Good evening and welcome to Thursday Kudos Show. This evening is going to be fun because I've had an incredibly busy couple of days doing some very crazy things, talking to many people. I'm going to be using this a lot during this evening because my throat is quite sore. So excuse me if I'm doing that and you're paying attention to me, just look somewhere else. I am not entirely sure who's going to turn up this evening because I'm not sure that I've done it all correctly this week because I've just been rushed off my feet doing many other things, like I say. However, I do have at least one person in the green room, and this lady is definitely more than just a person. This lady is definitely a miracle like the rest of us. So, let me explain a couple of things and we'll get on with the show. This evening is about sales and selling, sell, and how are we going to manage that? How do we succeed at that? What do we do that makes that a good thing and a positive experience for people and something that works for us but works for the other people on the other side, the customers? Because really we're all customers when we think about things. We always have been and always will be, because we all need to buy or obtain things even if we're not buying them. Let me just explain for anybody who has joined. This evening I have put a post on my LinkedIn profile. If you would like to head there, on there is the link to the green room, to the StreamYard, if you would like to join in. Hopefully somebody will, because my throat's not very good this evening and I want to do as little talking as possible. So I'm going to introduce my lovely miracle friend who is sat in the audience at the moment. Let me just first of all say good evening, Maria. Good evening, Keela. Good evening, Herlin and Lonnie. Hi, Lonnie. So without a moment's pause, here is Pauline. Hello.
Hello, Matt. I'm
How are
glad
you?
that I'm here to save your voice.
Good. So am I. You're going to save more than my voice. You're going to save people some difficulties when it comes to selling, because you're going to tell them some little hints and tricks and tips that you've got. You are very useful for this because you do things around conversations, and conversations are the way to sell. It's not telling people what you do, it's talking with them about what they need, what you should give them, and then matching what you have to sell to them to what they want, in my opinion. A very humble opinion.
Okay, there's a lot. There's a lot in there. There's a lot in there.
Oh, not really. You know me.
Yeah, well, what's interesting is, I mean, thinking a lot about this is, if you like, the power of conversations. And my book is The Power of Authentic Harmony Conversations. So where it says there, authentic harmony world, there is a mission in the service that I offer. And when we come to selling something, it's all about relationships, isn't it? So it's all about building a relationship as opposed to selling something to someone that they don't necessarily want. So we're looking at what is the pain, what are we delivering that can be a gain for somebody? Or are we selling something that somebody absolutely loves or they want desperately? Somebody wants a gold ring or a diamond, they go out and find one. And then it's just a matter of choice, do I get the big one or the small one? How much does this person love me? Who's going to buy the diamond ring, etc. So when it comes to selling things that are, dare I say, more visionary and missionary. So I'm going to use those two words because you've got a mission in terms of what you want to do. So selling is also persuasion. And I think then it's about, as we're persuading people, are we controlling them by the persuasion or are we drawing them in? So what I sell, if you like, are ways to have great conversations, not just for the sake of it, which is lovely as well, but to actually get rid of things like difficult conversations or annoying tensions, stress, harassment, we all know, I'm sure everybody who is listening has had a difficult conversation in their life. And it could have been with their parents, it could have been with their schoolmates, it could have been with a teacher, could have been with colleagues, could be with somebody annoying on public transport. So, you know, what I'm looking at is how can I persuade people to buy my service, my skills to help them be better at navigating their way through life, so that the gain I see from what I sell is that it's a life-changing skill. So it's not something that you just use and you throw away.
Yep.
You know, and I've had major contracts where it takes time, but it turned a whole department round. And the boss will say to me, "Oh my God, I can't believe that. You know, that wasn't training, that was actually evolution." Because for people to be willing to have great conversations, you have to be willing. You can't force anybody. It's almost more easy to force somebody to have a difficult conversation. You know, because sadly in our world, people defer to hate too much at the moment, which is a very sad thing. But if we want to be in a place of joy and fluidity and harmony and all those things, we will come and buy my service. But it needs to have a real reason. It's like with Kudos, there's got to be a reason that people want to get engaged, and then understand what the process is, and then tell other people about it.
Yeah.
So the best way to sell yourself is to actually allow people to come towards you, I believe. And it's a different mode of selling, because you're not, you know, the old Barra Boy salesperson.
Uh-huh.
And this is not only £1,000, because actually I'm going to give you a really good deal and I'll drop it down to 5. And not only is it going to be 500, I'm going to add this in and this in and this in. You know, it's that kind of, I believe we've moved beyond that. And I would like companies to move beyond that, to actually understanding that when they embrace the really amazing conversations, you not only get healthy yourself and your colleagues get healthy, but interesting enough, the customers like it too.
Yeah.
So when a customer is loyal, because they go, "Oh, I'm not going to go to that operation, I'm going to go to the one down the road because I know it's a bit further, but they're so nice in there." And they may be paying even a little bit more for their cup of coffee, but they go there. So I think it's all about persuasion and understanding the reciprocal agreement between you and whoever's buying you, as opposed to putting a price tag on it and saying, "Hey, this is what I've got, come and buy it." So people have the experience of what is, they would say, you know, we need to know, love and trust in order to start really seeing customers being loyal to us. So I think if we take that adage, I think the other thing in the process is, what is your value in terms of monetary value as well as deliverable value? So you deliver good value, but it also needs to come at a price. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
I would never be a woman who spends $500 on a handbag. I just can't do that. But maybe if there's something I really, really love and it means a lot to me, I mean, being a dressmaker of my life, I understand some clothes are made really well, and maybe I would pay a little bit more for good fabric. So there's a value judgment in how we spend our money, which is part of the selling, buying process. But when you come to something that is actually changing lives, which is what you do and what I do, you really have to have the buy-in in the heart.
Yeah.
And then, you know, the money is negotiable. And, you know, even in all many businesses I've been involved in, there's always a deal, you know, and it's not to undersell yourself, but also to know that when somebody's really keen and they desperately want what you've got and they don't have the appropriate money, there is a way of even bartering.
Yeah.
I've never been adverse to that. Obviously, it doesn't pay the food bills or the gas in the car. But I think it's about seeing life and business as intertwined. as something that when I do what I call magical conversations, wisdom circles, it's about what can I contribute? How can I listen? What can I share? And then what's the value together? And also the ideas which you're very focused on as well is this giving back. And I think it's really important in the world to, the old adage, you can teach a man to fish. No, you can give a man a fish, but if you teach him to fish, he will. I think it's very important that it's not just about going and giving people the way to get out of a negative situation, but help them to understand how they can also then do it themselves and bring other people with them.
Yeah.
So that's a long-winded way of saying that I facilitate amazing conversations, magical conversations. And the reason I call them magical is they're without judgment, without anger, and without controlling the outcome, allowing people to be in that space.
Yeah.
And for some people, it's not the right space. So you don't make people stay there. You invite them in, and you invite them to come without their ego. And I say, if you leave your ego outside the door with your shoes, you can pick up your shoes on the way out, and you can make the choice as to whether to pick your ego up.
Some people can make that choice. Other people, unfortunately, can't, in my experience. But most can make that choice. Yeah. So some of what you talked about there. Obviously, I've been to some of your events, and we've talked. I wouldn't say extensively, but we've talked a reasonable amount about all sorts of different things, even before you knew what Kudos was. And in fact, you're probably the person that I've talked to the most, been involved with the most, before I've told them what Kudos is. I don't know why that was especially, but it just sort of happened that way, that we seem to have something in common, something shared that we had together before even I'd explained about that to you. And it's not that that is a defining thing. It's just that nowadays, especially, but maybe not so much earlier on, but nowadays especially, people are quite intrigued with, what is this Kudos thing? What is that? And people, when they find out, are a little bit sometimes overwhelmed, sometimes shocked in a good way, like surprised. I don't know. I think it's very different for different people about how they look at that and what they get from that. And for me, that's part of the conversation. And I always explain this to people, because I believe that the only way to sell something is, number one, believe in what you are selling and have it as something that you feel invested into. So you would buy it if you had the money to buy it, or if you haven't got the money to buy it, you would want to save the money up to buy it. Because if you're able to do that, then you really believe in the product that you're selling. And I don't even sell in that sense. I don't have a price tag on anything that I do. I don't have a thing where I ask people, is that something that you want to agree to at the end? I just have an open conversation, an honest conversation that starts always with listening to the other person and asking intuitive and interesting questions about what they're talking about. And then from there, it builds our relationship into, I understand what they are interested in, because as much as I do, the thing that I offer is pretty big, and there's a lot to it and lots of different avenues to go down. So really, in some ways, I have to try and figure out what that thing is that would appeal to them about what I do. And that's the same in all selling, really, is understanding your customer, understanding what their needs are, and then providing a relationship to them, building trust and building experience of something that's valuable to them, like you said before. And then you can build on that to sort of cover the bases and say, if it does this, Would you be happy? Well, yes, I would be happy. Okay, well, it does do that. It does that and more. What about this? If it did this, would you be happy? Oh, yes, I would. Well, it does that and more. And then you get to the point where a customer, in this particular phrasing, if you like, keeps saying yes and yes and yes. And you get to the point where finally, if you are saying something, and to be quite honest, I could quite easily use many different closes to say to people, is kudos something that you want to do? Because I have a very persuasive manner in that sense. But I very much disagree with doing that about kudos because I don't have to. Quite
Well,
often,
I think it's very interesting because I think it's all about the words you use. And I think in many ways, for what you're doing, it's not seeking customers, but partnerships.
Yeah.
And associates and people who want to be part of that mission, which is different to, a commercial entity which is looking for clients.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm looking for the right kind of client. And so I'm always saying, my client is ideally for corporate or international, it's a probably a male leader who has a good budget and a willing heart and a mindset that can see that, what he would achieve by doing some of our programs is not just a healthy culture, but actually improve the business because he's looking for the bottom line. Where it connects with what you're looking to do is really, I'm shifting people to a mindset within that culture, but you're talking about shifting a mindset about economic viability and sustainability and sharing at a different level. And what's interesting with your model is it's got the buying commercial goods in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Which,
I wouldn't say too much.
well, it was interesting, Matt, because I think also it's about, it is about intriguing people in, but it's also about making sure that people are not too confused in the first place.
Yeah.
That's why I asked you to explain more, because I love concepts, and it's like with our work with culture change and entrepreneurology, these are all concepts which look at the world differently. It's like having an Elon Musk electric car, which we couldn't have imagined having before it was there, and now it's there. So it's about making, it's what I see as an entrepreneurologist, it's making something out of your imagination. I mean, we're so used to having Apple phones and iPhones and Apple computers, but there was a day when we didn't have them.
Yeah.
And I remember well before the internet, and I remember for years and years back about how life was different. And now everybody's talking about AI and how it's going to change our world, but it's all evolution and sharing the mystery in a way that doesn't put people off.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very true. So again, part of that is from understanding your customer in the sense of trying to understand what they understand and having a chat with them about the environment that I operate in, I guess. This is going to turn into very vague things currently. Okay, let me give you some example. Earlier on, I was invited by a good friend of mine, Kelly O'Hara, to go to a startup event that was about answering questions that startup companies have that would help them to move forward as startup companies and to set up. Now, I have a problem with going and talking about my thing. Number one, I would take over the whole hour because it takes a long time to explain what I do. And then secondly, I don't know everybody in that room because I've not talked to everybody in that room, and therefore I'm very reluctant to say what I do. That presents me with two problems. Number one, I need to convince people that what I'm doing is worthwhile of their time to talk to me further. And number two is that I need to be explaining it well enough, but keeping enough of it back so that even though they want to find out more, they can't.
I want to ask you something. Have you done the exercise of the elevator pitch?
Yes, that's
well, it's
I'm going to say the words Christmas tree, and many people will understand how that is my elevator pitch if they've seen the Christmas tree. If they haven't seen the Christmas tree, you know the answer to that. Get in touch and have a chat.
No, but okay. Well, I'm not going to do a coaching session, but it's about if you were stuck in the lift with a person you really wanted and they only had 30 seconds, you might develop that one-liner, which is not so mysterious that they don't stay. But you know the nodding dog, the nodding dog.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, for instance, you know, if it was about, you know, which way would you hang things on a Christmas tree, or something that draws them in without explaining what you don't want. It's like, for me, you know, the definite statement is, we've all been in a difficult conversation, haven't we? Because there's an absolute yes to that. So you want something which is a yes to. What would it be like to not be in difficult situations, not have to deal with people who don't tune into you? Oh God, yes, I'd love that. I haven't explained anything about what I do, but it draws them in. So I think that's the key, Matt. Key, Matt.
Hold on. Did we agree that you were going to come along and do jokes?
Well, there's Rita's in the waiting room, so maybe she can smooth over this conversation.
I'm waiting for her to get settled, and then we'll bring Rita in. Whilst we're waiting for Rita to sort herself out politely, anybody who's watching and listening, if you go to my my LinkedIn page, you will see my most recent post that has the StreamYard for here. Or you could message Pauline, or you could message Rita. You can message me, but I find it very hard to read many things at once because I'm partially sighted. It's part of the reason why I don't put it in the chat, because I just can't do that properly. So let's introduce another lovely friend of mine, a wonderful miracle lady, just like you, Pauline. Here is Rita.
Oh, I'm a bridge.
I didn't know. This is a day of either subbing or I didn't know. I have hat head because I went on with Donald Cohen, so I had my hat on. So I have hat head, but I'm pleased to stop in and say hello and to see you again. Pauline is joyous, and always Matt, who I didn't mention this morning in our session. It popped right in where I wanted it. And so glad to see you. What are you talking about right now? I just heard Pauline. What was the topic? Just would be nice to know what I'm supposed to talk
We were talking about the one-liner pitch in the elevator. How do you persuade somebody to want to know more without going into an hour's conversation?
I don't know. IDK. You know, that's one of the things that I really worked on, because people ask all the time, what do I want to do, or what am I about? And to do that elevator pitch when you've been at this as long as I have, and probably you have, I don't want to speak for anybody but me, is very challenging to boil it down to one little thing. What do you want? Who are you now? Or where do you want to go next? We were talking about intention this morning. And I mean, how lucky was that to have intention as a topic? I had legacy, commitment, and intention. So all three go together. So for an elevator pitch or statement, and the other day I was asked again, if I'm talking about reading and what outcomes do I want to see, then it would be that all children are capable, confident readers who love to read. And right now, kids aren't wanting to read on their own because they're on phones and exciting things, as we know. So that would be an elevator pitch if I'm working on reading. If I'm working on leadership, then I'm going to talk about horizontal shared leadership and not vertical coming down. Lately, I've been very outspoken about my concern about this continual push about teaching people how to fail. And conversations about failure are just driving me insane because I don't believe in failure. I only believe in feedback. And if this isn't working, then I need to do something else. A couple of other words that have come up lately that I wrote about in my acronym blog, in fact, was one, unpacking. We're so busy unpacking everything that there's so many layers, I wouldn't know how to get to the elevator pitch on that one. I'd have to think about it. So I think we're talking about in context who we're with. If you're putting something right here on your LinkedIn page, is going to be different than when I'm sitting in there in Donald's group. And to me, it's all about belonging. So I would be doing my little spiel right here, this short, and it would be about the advantages of us collaborating and belonging, because I feel now that people are very lonely and very isolated. Huge mental health issue is isolation. And I don't think it's just me talking about that. So, Pauline, I can't give a cut and dry answer. I've been working on that for at least a year for myself. And I don't have an answer whether it was via a life coach situation or in my head or talking to my friends here. I'm not sure anymore. I always thought I knew. I knew what I was doing when I was a school principal, when I was a trainer, when I was a college professor, adjunct in all universities, when I traveled across country. I knew. Now my humility is such that I have some challenges in even wanting to talk about myself. For me, it's not about me, it's about you and us, about this collective we, and my concerns right now about the world we're living in, what we're doing next, which is what really led me to my friend Matt, who's friends with everybody and brings all of us together. So I didn't really probably make sense, but that's about 4 hours of sleep worth and having worked them straight all day. And I love what I'm doing. I've never been happier. I think my big thing I would just say is I choose to be happy. If I had to talk about my number one intention, the rest all comes. It may be in dribbles. We may be breaking up boulders into little pebbles, but it's about what makes us happy and unique, and how do we as servant leaders help others get in a position where we're constantly fixing or wanting to fix or redirect others' lives. It can't work.
No,
That way.
I don't fix people. I always say to my clients, don't fix anybody. You can help everybody, but don't fix anybody.
Yeah, I think we're all fixers. I think that's human nature, that we see things that aren't quite right. But with all the noise around us and the din, as I talk about weathering storms of life without and within, what keeps us going with our purpose and our passion and our drive? It's about meeting people like Matt who see that big picture. And I've always been a global thinker. I've always seen the big picture. It's more challenging for me to do the linear day to day, and then I'm so distractible. I'm on this one and this and this and this, and then it all comes together. So I say to people, I see that you're on a different road, and we know that if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. But I see these roads starting to converge. And I do feel we are at a defining moment, whether in the field of education and public schools and what's happening and what's going to happen, and then the community at large. And I see us now as a world being brought together through technology, experiences like this. And boy, I've been kicking and screaming about my new computer till I drove Matt crazy day by day. I did call today too. I just want you to know I have not missed a day, Matt. So for me to even be able to get on is like a miracle. So what took me so long that I kept a 12-year-old computer that was no longer functional? So is change so challenging for me? Yeah, absolutely. The only one who likes change is a wet baby. And I certainly didn't want to give up my computer with 3 keys worn through and the books I'd written and the people and all. I was scared to death to do something different. So I've always felt that we have to model everything. And if I'm not willing to get rid of a 12-year-old computer, how in the world am I going to go to other people and tell them that they have anything that they need to change or do? I wouldn't do it. I can model my beliefs, but I'm certainly not going to tell people what they need to do. And I don't want anybody to tell me anymore either at this point in my
No.
life. I don't want to hear of, if it's negative, I don't even want to be around you. If it's negative, then I just write to Matt till midnight and then he says, go to bed pretty much about every night too. Yeah. So he's
Well, it's
way
not
in
every
there and
night.
I'm in Eugene,
There
Oregon.
was
He's
one
telling me to go
Thursday.
to bed.
What? There was one Thursday where you didn't.
Almost
Yeah.
every night tells me to stop and to go to bed because I end up getting started on some project. I'm more of a night person than a morning person. To get me on anything at 8 a.m. is a big deal. Have to really
Yeah.
want to do it. So I was up about 4 this morning, make sure I didn't oversleep. So, I guess I didn't answer. I kind of went round and round because that's where I am right now. I'm finding my way again at this stage of my life. And what I thought real last week is different this week. And what I thought was so important to me yesterday was important until I got a call about a dear friend who was ill. And these things change us like this, same way as we have a new baby that was born. Our friend had a baby. That's what I want to hear right now. I want to really hear happy things because the negativity around us is very detrimental. I think we'd all agree on that. So that's where I am in life, is helping everybody I can every single day behind the scenes, helping everybody to look good. I don't need an accolade at this point in my life because if anything, what I need are some tech skills that I don't have that I'm working on, like AI. Like it was like I had COVID and while I was sleeping, AI came in and kind of drowned out everything else. I think we have an
Okay, so
opportunity.
that raises a very interesting question, a very
Yes.
poignant one for
That's my
people out.
teacher pointy finger at you. Because I didn't know I was coming on. I would have cleaned up a little bit more. She goes, she's fixing herself up. Well, I
Rita,
didn't
you
quite
look
know.
lovely.
Hello. We won't go any further than that. You'll owe me for this.
Okay.
It's one more time. Go to sleep. Go to sleep. That's what he says. You need to stop working and go to sleep. I like to work when it's late and quiet, Pauline. I get distracted during the day when there's stuff going on and
Yes.
phone calls and stuff like that. When it gets real quiet, and then all of a sudden it goes, boing, I know what I need to do. And there it is.
Suddenly you're
Voila.
ready. And then the
Yeah.
keyboard's out and you're typing away.
Yeah, it's different too. I'm really enjoying the new Mac now that we have almost everything working. I think it asks me tomorrow if I have to make one more call, I'm going to be really embarrassed. But I think the point I wanted to make was sometimes the simplest thing to you is a huge thing to me. And that's where I am in my respect for others, that they may not see the teaching and reading as I do, or how I believe what I did as a principal could be the same everywhere. I think we need to keep that humility. And that's one of the things AI is doing for me, because I'm like, where do I start now? This is something else new. How do I keep up with all of this? It's a challenge. And I do feel that we have to focus on the positive, the notion of my optimism. And now Matt, I got to join with Victor. If we are not optimistic about now and our future, then how would we expect anyone else to be? And what can we do to make that future better for our children? And that's my concern right now, is all the children that are hurting, the children are not all right. And because I've been an advocate my whole life, now more than ever, I feel that that's the path that I'm on, and that's where I'm most needed, is to speak out, as I have, about what we're doing with the children and how we teach them, how we should be teaching them. So I guess in summary, I have a couple things that I've talked about all week now. One is that I do not believe there's such thing as failure. That's only feedback, and I don't want to hear everybody talking about teaching kids and people how to fail and how to fail forward. I don't want to hear it. That's my opinion. But in my life experience, I don't believe in failure, and I just am sick of having people tell everybody how they need to be able to handle their failure. It's not a word I want. I don't like any negative words like that. Struggling, harder, we can't do this, all these things, and my brain hears. And I hadn't really mentioned, but I think Matt knows. Pauline, you're way ahead of me. I had a lot of degrees, yeah, but I didn't get my doctorate. It wasn't near where I was living at the time. And I decided the best thing for me to do, which I did, was spend a year, and I became a hypnotherapist and NLP practitioner, studied peak performance. And I still feel that those gave me the gifts that I needed to present as I was doing, and to be a better person, and to be able to get rapport more easily with people. For me, I made a good choice. I don't believe in living with regrets, and I have looked in the rearview mirror way too much since I lost my husband, and I'll be the first one to admit it. So these choices that I made, I'm not going to go back and redo or rethink. What I did, I had to let it go. If the bags are too heavy, we have to put them down. And we have to keep lifting each other up, even if it means I come back to my desk, I flip on the computer, and I go, oh my goodness, I didn't know I was at what time this thing. I can't even keep up with myself these days. And that's a good thing, because there's a group that's been coming together. And I see this as a universal, almost a worldwide group of people who are redefining what life could be. And whether it's your intention to get that garden in, or go back to school, or look for a different position, or whatever that decision is, then I'm going to support it. But I just can't handle hearing the enormous amount of noise and negativity around us. I think it's very detrimental, especially to the children. We need to model without people screaming at each other. And I know we can find common ground, whether it's on the teaching of reading and the newest pendulum swing, or any other topic that we could come up with as a group. We have to be united right now. It's for the good of not only the United States, or England, or Canada, or Africa. I work with people internationally, and I hear the same things from everybody everywhere. And I think now is a really good time that we're getting together and meeting each other. And going on LinkedIn for me last year really was a revelation. I had sat with it for years and not done anything. And I'm still very active on Twitter. But I've found that LinkedIn for me right now has been more positive than being on Twitter. And the people that I've been meeting on LinkedIn have been so gracious, so kind to each other, and so helpful. I just think that it's way beyond what people think, what can happen from this particular platform. And the capability to go on all these shows, to pop in and say hello, or share our thoughts and our feelings, it validates people. What am I thinking? Am I way off base now? I'm hearing all this stuff. I don't know what to believe anymore, kind of thing. So this checks us, but it really does bring humility, because no one person now has all the answers. No way. I think it was oh God, what's the scientist's name? He said COVID brain. I just had a brain fart. Excuse me. Everybody that you meet knows something you don't know. I think it was 9. Yeah. And so if we accept that I know you know things, Pauline, that I certainly don't know. Oh my goodness.
Oh,
Gee.
don't make any assumptions.
Oh, and Matt, he knows so many things I don't know. And I just have my
I
AirPods
think that's
all
the
out.
biggest assumption.
So I'm going to stop talking and grab my AirPod. It's about where my brain and body are not together at the moment.
Oh, I'd love to share something, Rita, just to explain something, which I have shared with Matt before. But in terms of reinventing the world and redesigning education for a start, I'm very proud of that. And my doctorate is not an academic doctorate; it's a professional higher doctorate in entrepreneurology, and it's about my life. And
love it.
you could do that as well. So we work, and it's interesting enough, a 50-year-old concept that my father-in-law created. He's passed now. He was 93 when he passed. And that was back in 2014. So in 1972, he started this. So it's, our life credentials as entrepreneurs, entrepreneurologists are very, very valid. And especially for women, I don't mean not for men, but for women especially, because we've done so much and we've had children and we've done all sorts of things. So actually, it's about your life. It's about your real life experience. And that's what I'm about. It's it's not about academia. It's not about, we got to learn maths and English and all that stuff, but it's actually about how you do it. How you do it is more important than what the content is. I happen to be a mathematician. I hated languages. I was really bad. My sister was brilliant at languages, and I'm very bad at maths. So when the French teacher ticked me off about, oh, why are you so bad when your sister's so good? I said, yeah, but she's not good at maths. We're all good at I believe we all have natural gifts. And I do a lot of work with my clients about what's your natural gift. And it's not what you learn at school. It's not what you learn from your parents. It's not what you learn from anybody else. It's what your gift is as a born human being. And usually it's what you do so well, you don't even notice that you do it.
Yeah. And well, you're going back to purpose.
Yeah, your best friend. So the trick is to go and ask your best friend, what do I actually do? Which is so me that you always, and they'll say, oh, you're a fantastic coordinator or Livewire, whatever it is. And we'll tend to go, oh, not that. Yeah, because you do it so easily. You kick it back. But actually, it's the thread that if we put back into education would make all the difference. And this has been said by, wisdom people over 2,000 plus years.
Yeah, that's right.
Notice of it.
Yes, absolutely.
And that
I agree.
Is really key, is that each one of us could have this professional higher doctorate. And we're saying, so to speak, 2 fingers to Harvard. You don't need to go to Harvard unless you're going to be a brain surgeon. Okay, then you could go. But, to learn an expertise is different to the way you do it. So you could be an entomological dentist, an entomological lawyer.
Wow.
Means you know your skill, but you apply it to the world in a very imaginative, out of the box way.
Like
Matt is an entomologist because he's taking the pieces that we've got everywhere and he's putting them together in a different way and inviting people to be part of that mission. So for me, I think this is what the people who live at a level 3 consciousness need to be doing rather than living at level 1, which is all about survival. And
well, soft skills are more important now anyway. If you look at discrete skills that are taught in school, most of the stuff that the kids are being taught now, it's not going to be relevant in another year the way we're going. I had to, did you do slide rule, you guys? I had to pass slide rule to pass chemistry. Yeah. Do you see a slide rule now? Do you see calculators in the classroom? And I recall the teachers having fits about kids having calculators, like now phones.
Yeah.
We had to pass the periodic table to pass chemistry. We had to know slide rule, and these are obsolete.
What's a
slide rule? I bet Matt knew it. Yeah, there you go. I'm not even going to tell you that.
What was that slide ruler that we used to have?
Right.
I don't know what it was called, but it was something everybody wanted, but it was very complicated.
An abacus?
What?
An
I have
abacus?
no. I have my abacus here with my kids' stuff. I still have tons of teaching stuff here.
Oh, I've been cheeky.
I know. Actually, it's funny that you mentioned that. I think one of the most fun things that I did in my life as a teacher was going back to teach preschool from 16 to 18 under a literacy grant. And I never laughed so hard. Oh my gosh. The kids are fun. And why I mention that is that when we talk about finding the playfulness in life and laughing, like, kicking back and forth, but in a very serious way, though, the undercurrent here. But the children are so innocent still when they're 2, 3, 4, and they just want to play. And that's how it should be. We're making kids grow up too fast, and childhood is a precious time. What is the rush? Why do you want them to be grown-up people? Let them be children. They don't need to know all this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And nowadays there's so much knowledge available at the tap of a finger.
Right.
There's no point in stuffing information to kids in order that they should remember it in order to pass an exam, which will give them a credibility which won't get them a job. And anyway.
And then you test them on the stuff, and then. Yes, well, that's another whole story, the waste of standardized testing, but don't start me. That's another whole conversation.
It's all about using our heart and our mind.
Yeah. Well, the kids, they need to know how to learn. And that's really where we are. As I work with learning more advanced tech skills and dipping into AI now, that's not going away. The slide went away. But AI is not going to go away. The only question is, what do we do to use it, and how will it benefit us as a society with the changes? But I'm certain about a couple of things in my life right now, and I've already mentioned them. One is the emphasis on failure. It's driving me crazy, and then language changing. I get all the acronyms. I do, and I understand. But when we talk about, I'm gonna go bed now. This kind of thing where we don't have grammar now, kids aren't learning cursive, and they think that that's proper. If you read all day long, you got this. Well, you've got this maybe, but you got this. I'm gonna go bed now. Oh, come on. I mean, really, we still do need to teach the English language and spelling and vocabulary. These things I do believe in, because these skills are used all through your life. I still want kids to be able to do cursive. And for one thing, with my time with Brain Gym, I'm certainly not Paul and Gail Dennison, but I'm friends with them. And I took 2 levels of Brain Gym. And we need to use Brain Gym more all the time, midline and crossing, because we need to be using our whole brain right now to solve all these issues and figure things out. So there are things around like that. Oh, power. I will get you hooked up with the Dennisons. Paul and Gail. They're absolutely phenomenal. In fact, I had them join with me on one of our Morocco webinars, and I connected it with speed reading. And so we did fast track reading with Brain Gym, and we did tracking on fluency. So my area of expertise is reading, and I'm in a tough spot right now because of the pendulum swing, and I can't go around telling people they're doing things wrong. It's not my purview to do that, but I will stand till my death on the fact that no matter what, there's certain things that do need to be taught still, whether we're AI or Siri or not. There are some things that we do need to know, and one is how to speak the English language if we're speaking English. So there's implications for all language learners, second language learners as well. I guess where I am is that we are reimagining what education could be. And we're also reimagining what our world could look like.
Oh, definitely.
I always say that thank you for helping make a better, more loving world. And when we talk about getting the negativity out of the conversation and being able to communicate in such a way we understand each other and we have rapport with each other, that's what's the most important thing, because our views can be different and we can still find common ground.
Conversations matter, yes.
Yes,
That's my bag.
there you are. You know, that's
I
anthropological.
think Matt's going to sleep on us.
No, I'm not going to sleep.
No, he's listening to the ladies for a minute. Well, you know, Matt,
A
you
minute.
brought together so many people, and we're all very grateful for the connections that we have made. I would never have known that there were people on LinkedIn who, I'm not going to say that. Let's just put it like this. I was surprised that this platform was not just all sales or getting jobs. It's about serious people solving serious issues, and also about the power of play. That notion that we need to enjoy what we do. I regard work as play and play as work. I never know the difference as I'm enjoying. The most challenging thing I've been doing in my life recently is the tango class. So there you go. Matt knows. Sunday tango afternoon. It's deplorable to see me. It's just not like watching show tango. I'm terrible. But I took a risk. And I like to model risk taking. I think it's important that we do take risks in our life, but I think sometimes people are afraid. And I understand that.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's easier to stay the way we are sometimes, even if you're not in a good situation. So you have to figure out is what's a better way. Do I want to hang in? Do I want to hang on? Do I want to get out? Do I want to start over, or can I salvage? So if these are professional or personal relationships, these are questions that we need to ask.
Yes.
I think right now. But again, I do believe we're in a defining moment, and what I say is no more important than anyone else. Every voice has to be heard, and everybody has to be at the table. Everybody now. We need to, I said just as bad. We need to listen to one another and have that rapport where we can come together. We're all on different roads. We know if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. But all these roads seem to be converging right now at this point. I do feel we are in that defining moment. And if we let this go, when people are ripe to make a huge change, I think, then it really behooves us to not let that happen. To people,
I was going to say maybe we're all on the same road doing different things.
Yeah. Well, same thing.
Yeah, and I think that's what's fun. It's about using we say in our university, using your knowledge, experience, and imagination. And in fact, Albert Einstein said that imagination is more important than education. I think we also teach common sense, which of course you can't teach. So it's about teaching the unteachables. That's what my founder of the university always said. And I love that.
I always call it the kid at the back. Yes, your turn.
I'm the unteachable child sat at the back of the class all the time. Like either I wasn't in school or when I was at school, I was literally, if there was another boy, because I went to an all-boys school, who didn't understand what the teacher was saying, I wasn't particularly listening to the teacher. I was busy explaining to my mate what the teacher was going on about. Before the teacher had finished, I was one of those awkward kids who just, I wasn't interested in what they were saying. I was more interested in how I would put it. Probably wrongly. Maybe I've ruined many people's lives by explaining certain things wrong. But yeah, like I was always the unteachable child, and that's a very interesting phrase for me because I strongly identify with that.
Yeah. Well, Matt, what I believe, again, these are just my opinions. Everybody has their own opinions, and that's how it should be. For me, the children who ask for love frequently ask in the most unloving ways. And I have always gravitated to the kid at the back, as I call it. And the one in particular that I cherish, I will till my last breath, is the one student I worked with who had a very hard time. I won't go through his story. But when I started to teach him, I just saw this gifted kid, and I always find the gifted are frequently the children who are the kids at the back, and they can't function in a linear manner, analytical manner that the school is requiring, and they're bigger thinkers, as Matt is doing and as you're doing, Pauline. Anyway, this little guy went on to graduate from UC in California with honors, and then he became a rocket scientist for SpaceX.
Wow.
Yeah, and I wrote a book about him many moons ago now. So these children have giftedness. It's usually not identified, and to have to get a certain test score to be put in the gifted program, we miss a lot of kids. And if we want to have children want to come to school and stop the acting out behaviors that we're seeing now, we have to make it so that the children who are disaffected and disengaged from schoolhouse as an entity, they have to have a purpose or a reason to want to be there. And if it's about tests and we're going to test them for 2 weeks straight, they're not going to want to be there. And there's millions of children right now that are not in school anywhere. They're just not getting an education. And for those kids also who are not connected, when we go to AI, this gap is going to be even larger. The breach is huge now. What will happen then when they not only can't get online and they're sitting in a McDonald's parking lot to try and get a signal, or AI is here and they have no way to access, so they're farther behind. So then when we talk about equity or equality, they're not the same, but we can't have equity. We can't level that playing field at all under those circumstances. So we have to be really looking at all of this, and education is very big for all of us. And the amount of money that's going into standardized testing should be going into counselors, psychologists, and nurses at the schools, my opinion. You know, we don't have to believe it.
Yes, I think I know you're not able to read the chat, so I've been reading it for you, Matt, because
I can't see it.
Is common sense really common, and the school should teach common sense. But I think that education has to change because everything is changing, and we just have to be adaptable and agile with it, because kids can now learn everything they need or may not need, but they're going to learn it anyway from the internet. And so it's all about socializing and humanizing, understanding natural gifts, getting them talking. I'm working with some amazing people in Ghana who had 2,000 students in a room, 15 to 18-year-olds, and half girls, half boys, and teachers. And a great success, and they could have had 10,000 in the room, but it's a start. And they're so eager to learn and to understand, not content, but energy and mindset. And that's really where the shift will come, because there's a lot of very bright people in the world who don't need schools.
Well, obviously. But we could be having different kinds of school. I've talked about utopian schools and what it would look like for many years. Well, our closest was in the 90s during the time of restructuring schools, ripping them apart, putting them back together, and the notion of school as the center of the community. That's what needs to happen right now if we want to save public schools. We really need to have everything coming at the public school site, whether it's medical there or counseling services. There's a school in San Francisco that opened their gym to their homeless students, only the population at the school. And then they're concurrently getting help from the county to get them places to live and jobs to get money. So these things can happen right now.
Oh, yes.
Your turn. Okay, I guess I took over as a teacher.
Right, so it's very interesting that you say that, right? That was one of my very first ideas when I was at school. Okay, I'm not very well now, but when I was at school, I used to enjoy going to the gym. I had weights and stuff at home. I used to race mountain bikes. I used to work like 90 hours a week, including school. Right?
Yes.
And I've always had this thing about starting businesses from when I was like knee high to a grasshopper. And one of the very first ideas that I had was, why on earth have we got these school buildings like gyms that are closed for most of the time? They've got equipment in there.
Yeah,
And
right.
the schools are all complaining that they've got no money. And then everybody's complaining that they've got nowhere cheap to go to for the gym.
Yeah.
Why on earth are we not opening the gym building for people to go to the gym? And I came up with literally a whole like business plan in my mind about how these gyms would work. I never did anything with it, mainly because I was never in school long enough. But for me, it's just a very interesting concept that we have these buildings that are filled for a third of the time of a day, and only 5 days out of the week. And then those commonly owned, usually in England, facilities are just left empty with so much things in them that could benefit.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. It's like resource that's just left there begging, and we as society just go, yeah, we don't need that. We're off doing other things after school. Well, other people might want them, even if particularly school kids don't want to go to the gym more because they've just finished gym class. Well, other people might want to. It doesn't make sense, does it?
Oh,
No,
I think
it
we
doesn't.
ought to start up dance schools everywhere, because dancing is.
Yes.
And I'm just going to share with you, because I've got to go now, but I always thought I could make a Smile Academy, where Smile stands for sound, movement, imagination, love, and energy. And these would be core curricular principles that all the teachers would have to play, as well as teaching maths, English, etc., etc. So it would be, sound would be everything to do with voice and singing and harmony. Movement would be the gym, would be dancing, would be exercise. It would be understanding the body. Imagination is all your intelligent sort of stuff. Love is obvious, and energy would come out of all of that. And we need something like that. We need a new mantra instead of education is what we teach, and you listen and we teach.
Right.
I didn't enjoy school except the classes I was good at.
Yeah, we're talking about a pretty a major paradigm shift has to happen.
Well, we do, and to be honest, I think it's coming anyway.
I
We
do
just
too.
have to make sure it's going the right way. I know.
I'm in school. I put my hand up. I respect people. So, Pauline, you need to go. I'm not getting rid of you. I'm just saying that you need to go. So I just want to, and you can go. I just want to just ask you this question, and it's not to embarrass you or to make a point out of this, but it's making a different point. How old are you, Pauline?
On the 23rd of May, I will be 74.
Rita, how old are you?
Same.
Okay.
1949 was a very good vintage.
1950.
Okay. I put my hand down. I realized. Sorry.
So how old are you, Matt?
How old am I? I'm 48. But I'm
just a baby.
I'm aging quicker than most people on the planet because of the things that are wrong with me. But that isn't my point. The point is that we need to listen to the older generation. I've been sat back listening. Oh, yeah, thank you. You just listen. Thank you. We need to listen to the older generation that isn't subject to the things that control us now because they've lived in a world where that control didn't exist. And those people, you two included, maybe a little bit, but you wonderful older people, and I'm not going to say this right, everybody knows that I don't say things well. Older people are extremely important for our future. And if we miss the opportunity to sit back like I was and listen to you ladies talk about some of the current things that are going on, and your opinions of them and your views of them that are integral to us moving forward, because you're prepared to say the things that other people are not prepared to say, or you have a view that is more beneficial to other people than what it is to yourselves, because you value other people rather than just your own opinions. That is the thing that is important in our world today. And you both do that in your own unique way. And something that I'm always saying is, although we are unique, we are in unity with each other. And just listening to the two of you, sure, the things that you say are very different, and I don't understand half of them, but I understand that there's some unity between those things. Even if it's just the leads that you're sliding along on your abacus, or the slide rule, or whatever that is. I don't know.
That's what it was called, slide rule.
So,
yeah.
Thank you. Time for you to go. I'm going to finish now. Ladies, we need to do this again more often. Yeah. I'm going to kick you both out. I'm going to finish.
Oh, I can go now?
Oh, sorry. Am I keeping you from something?
Not only was I not really invited, all of a sudden I just see, what? I'm on StreamYard? I didn't know that. No. Honestly, we're still do a conversation too, Pauline.
We are. What's your fault?
We are.
We are. We're going to get there. We're gonna
sorry. I'll just sit back again.
Well, it doesn't matter. You did this. You bring the ladies together. We're not playing mahjong here, although it'd be fun to play a game. And I'm not going to sing either. You got other people who sing for you. You don't want me to sing. I tell you that.
No, I'm never going to sing.
Madalena has been singing in her group that she runs because I made that happen.
They're great too. These people are wonderful. Just don't have.
I can dance. I can't sing, so I love to dance.
I love to dance.
The two of you can leave. I'm going to put you out the room now. So
I can go now.
Thank you very much. Anybody who's typing in the comments, please say goodbye to the ladies. They are my formidable friends of formidable age. Like I always say, I don't say things very well or very politely. But yeah, I say them anyway. There we go. So I would like to bring the evening to a conclusion in that this evening was about sales, and we've talked about everything else, but you'll notice that I was sat back listening, and that for me is the point of sales, is understanding your customer, is listening to what people need. And really at the moment we need a lot. We need more than we've ever needed in our lives, and we need change. And I speak to many people from all over the world, from all different walks of life, whether it be teachers like Rita, wonderful business people like Pauline. I speak to people in charge of companies. I speak to people who serve other people in the sense of medical needs and things like that. I talk to people in advertising. I talk to all sorts of wonderful medical people who are not in the normal medical world because they deal with holistic medicine and different models of that. I speak to people who look after their relatives. They're on LinkedIn as well. But the thing is that we're all unique. We're all doing our different thing in a different place. And we're all doing that in our unique way to achieve something that we want to achieve. But there is commonality amongst us all. There is unity amongst us all. And that unity is that we have love for each other, and that we have a desire to have something better in the world. We have a desire to change things, and we look at things like education and we discuss them at length in rooms like this. And why is that? Because we're not happy, because they don't fulfill us as people, and they don't fulfill our children as people. And that means that the world, unless we change that, is going to come to a very sad state of affairs. So if you want to see change, I have some of the answers. I have some of the big answers to some of the big questions. I don't have all the answers. I've got most of them, but not all. So reach out. Speak to my lovely friends. Pauline, my other lovely friend Rita. I'm not sure that they've got enough time to talk to everybody, but I'm sure that they'll spare time if you want to have a chat with them. I have a lot more time on my hands because, well, I'm a lot younger, but let's not mention that. I am looking to speak to people, explain to them a little bit about what I do, but that starts with listening to you, finding out about you and what you do, and then I'll explain a little bit about Kudos and the bigger things, how we're going to change the world and how we're going to save humanity through the miracles that is each and every single one of us. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for taking part in the comments. My apologies that I can't read those. I did try to supply the StreamYard link, but obviously that didn't work because I'm sure there was at least one person who tried and didn't get in. So I'll try and organise that a bit better next week. But everybody knows technical stuff and the technical guy doesn't really work. I'll leave you with my outro. Thank you very much for coming. I look forward to seeing you all around the world. Take care.